Hello, and thank you for joining us for a talk on health, safety, and security abroad, presented by Education Abroad and Overseas Campuses at Temple University. The ability to remain healthy and safe while overseas is paramount to a successful study abroad experience and requires advanced planning on your part. Your program homepage serves as a central location for you to review all of your program-related health, safety, and security information and available resources prior to your departure. We encourage you to utilize your program manual and the Education Abroad staff to better understand the resources available to you as you prepare to study abroad and while you are overseas. Our goal is to do as much as possible to help you prepare for your experience, but keep in mind, you will also have an on-site orientation shortly after arrival, during which the on-site staff will focus more on day-to-day living and health, safety, and security precautions specific to your host location. Before we begin with the pre-departure health and safety information, we wanted to let you know what you can expect from an on-site orientation. Typically, on-site orientation takes place between your arrival and the start of classes and is designed to introduce you to your new city and country and the program's structure, policies, rules, regulations, and resources available to you on site. A typical on-site orientation can include activities such as a meet and greet, a walking tour of the neighborhood, an excursion outside of your neighborhood or even outside of your city, an overview of your academic requirements, and a health, safety, and security overview, including an explanation of resources and what to do in certain scenarios that can happen abroad. The on-site orientation is an integral component of any Temple University study abroad program, and participation is required of all program participants. Students participating in external exchange programs are typically also required to attend their on-site orientation. Although the on-site orientation will help you to understand specific health and safety measures for your host location, as you prepare for your overseas experience, it's essential that you assume responsibility for your personal planning. Throughout this presentation, we've included information to help you prepare, and we've included a checklist of student responsibilities as they relate to health and safety to guide you in your preparations. If, after reviewing all of the information, you have individual concerns, please be sure to contact the Associate Director of Education Abroad. Many of the aspects of your study abroad experience, from meeting new people, obeying the law, and staying safe, to handling money and commuting, are culturally specific and in some cases will require considerable adjustment on your part. Although this adjustment can be challenging, it's part of the overall experience of studying abroad and is a major part of what distinguishes studying abroad from traveling as a tourist. The key to adjustment when studying abroad is not only to learn about the country ahead of time, but also to know that it takes time, patience, and an open mind. Instead of expecting your life abroad to be the same, go into this experience expecting it to be completely different. Living abroad can be challenging, in part because you have to make so many adjustments to your daily routine as well as to your preconceived notions about life abroad and your personal beliefs. Balancing these adjustments can be tricky, and sometimes students find themselves feeling overwhelmed by so much change at once, which is often described as culture shock. Feelings of alienation and/or disorientation due to being in an unfamiliar cultural environment are to be expected as part of your experience, and the intensity of culture shock may depend upon how different your host country is from your U.S. environment, but not always. It's important to note that if you are feeling this way, it's usually completely normal. When you grow up learning one way of life, it can be very jarring to go abroad as an adult and find yourself in a completely different environment. Even seasoned travelers can experience culture shock under the right circumstances. The good news is that you will have access to your on-site staff who are very familiar with this phenomenon, as well as a number of resources available to you once on-site that you can help manage this experience. One way to make the transition easier and potentially less stressful, however, is to arrive well informed. Even if you've studied the culture, language, or the history in class, it can still be difficult to really know and understand another country without having lived there. And if you arrive unprepared for the cultural differences, you risk navigating already complicated health and safety issues without the vital cultural context that could aid your ability to more efficiently resolve any issues that may arise unexpectedly. Since students' academic experiences abroad range widely and many find their coursework comparable to that on their home campus while others do not, the challenge for you as a study abroad student is finding a balance between your studies and your outside exploration of the culture and city. There will be more distractions than at home, and as you adjust to a new and exciting environment, in your adjustment in the classroom or at an internship abroad, or even in unfamiliar housing, this is just one aspect of acclimating to your new environment. It's important that you understand that your host location may have different attitudes about medical care and that healthcare systems vary. In particular, mental health care may be handled differently, and it may be more difficult to see a specialist that you would easily be able to see in the US. Even the availability of certain types of care may vary, and you can't assume because your medical condition, allergy, or special diet is easy to manage and maintain here that it will be the same abroad. Research awareness of and ease of care for your specific medical conditions in your destination so that you're prepared upon arrival. For example, if you have celiac disease, you may be nervous about finding gluten-free options abroad. You should research your destination country's diet, how celiac aware they are, and in non-English speaking countries, you should arrive knowing how to say certain keywords such as celiac, gluten, wheat, barley, and so on. This will ensure food safety while you're abroad. If you plan on traveling to different countries outside of your host country while overseas, it's important to remember that you should consider how you will manage celiac disease and other health and safety issues in each new destination. Alcohol consumption and relationships can both easily become health and safety issues, especially during a study abroad experience. Incidents involving alcohol are the number one reason students get into trouble or have health issues while abroad, so it's important that you understand the drinking culture in your host location. In many other countries, binge drinking and especially public drunkenness is extremely frowned upon. Many cultures outside of the US view alcohol very differently, and it is much more common for people to have a drink for pleasure and to socialize or with a meal. Being able to keep your drinking in check shows a level of maturity that is expected in most foreign countries. Many people do not realize that alcohol actually affects your body in different ways in different situations, and the same quantity of alcohol in one location may have a much stronger effect in another. Exercising restraint and caution in these circumstances is paramount to allowing you to adjust to your host location. You should understand that navigating cultural differences in relationships can be tricky. And for example, in some cultures, going home with someone may lead them to assume you are saying yes to anything that happens after. Remove yourself from uncomfortable situations and be aware of cultural differences as they relate to sex and relationships before you arrive in order to be prepared for these experiences. We also encourage you to review Temple's policy and efforts on preventing and addressing sexual assault, domestic or dating violence, and stalking, and be aware of the resources available for and procedures sensitive to those who report alleged incidents. Understanding the laws in your host location is essential, and we encourage you to review the country-specific information on the U.S. Department of State country-specific pages. You may find that some laws in your host location are more strictly enforced, such as bike laws in Japan or jaywalking laws in Germany, and it would be upsetting to find this piece of information out the hard way while on site by getting in trouble. Ensure you have an understanding of how the laws are enforced and what it might be like to be the victim of a crime abroad, as that experience can differ widely from your experience in the U.S. Please keep in mind that while you're studying abroad, you are subject to Temple University's Student Conduct Code, as well as any program-specific rules and guidelines. Remember, you have digitally signed the Assumption of Risk and Release form as a part of your pre-departure process, and we encourage you to review this form so you understand what the university expects of all study abroad students in terms of personal and academic conduct while overseas. Cultural differences can often extend to important health and safety issues, and Temple study abroad students have unfortunately experienced a number of issues such as culture shock or difficulty adjusting or an illness leading to hospitalization abroad. Sadly, even more serious incidents have occurred to students while abroad, including pickpocketing and other thefts, drink spiking, assault, accident, and even death and serious security threats and terror attacks. While it's impossible to prevent all health and safety incidents while abroad, one way to prevent unnecessary and avoidable incidents is through careful preparation prior to departure. We'll talk about how to prepare to be healthy, safe, and secure abroad in the next several slides. Informing yourself, knowing what to do in the case of an emergency, and utilizing your resources will be key to maintaining your health and safety while abroad and will enable you to have an enjoyable study abroad experience. So, let's find out which primary resources you can use.
First, we will discuss International SOS and the range of services it provides. Temple University has partnered with International SOS, a 24-hour global company that can serve as a single contact point for all international medical, safety, and security advice and assistance. International SOS can provide you with medical, safety, and security advice, as well as referrals both prior to and during your study abroad program. While participating in your program abroad, International SOS can coordinate medical care, emotional support services, and emergency assistance, and, whenever possible, will provide direct payment for any medically necessary care and coordinate with your Cigna travel medical insurance so that you don't have to pay for any covered expenses. As a participant in your study abroad program, your International SOS membership is already active for pre-travel advice. Once abroad, you may access the full range of International SOS services 3 days prior to the official start date of your study abroad program until 3 days after the official end date of your study abroad program. The Temple membership number is 11BSGC000017, and the membership card is posted to your program homepage and available through the International SOS website. So, how do you access all of this information and advice from International SOS? Let's first take a look at the website. We will log in with Temple University's International SOS membership number. 11BSGC000017. This member number is available in your program manual and on your ID card as well, so that you can log in at any time. Here you can see that you can access a summary of benefits, which includes coverage and exclusion information for both International SOS and Cigna International Travel Medical Insurance. You also see that you have access to the claim form, which you will use if you do pay out-of-pocket expenses for covered care and need to request a reimbursement from Cigna. To access medical safety and security information for your location, you'll go to the page for your destination to access this. As an example, we will begin by visiting India's page. Let's start with the medical information. The first page explains some key preparations related to vaccinations, medications, and documentation. You'll see the note that travelers should be up to date with their routine vaccinations such as MMR, polio, etc. This is true for any destination. In addition to routine vaccinations, International SOS may list other recommended vaccines for your destination, which you see is the case for India. Some are recommended for all travelers to India, while others depend on what your specific plans are while there. For example, hepatitis A, B, and typhoid vaccines are recommended for all travelers, while some of the other vaccines are recommended for travelers whose plans put them at potential risk for certain diseases, such as the recommendation of a cholera vaccine for someone who is likely to encounter unsanitary conditions or will have limited access to safe water. At the bottom of the page, you'll find information about the presence of malaria, appropriate prophylaxis, and tips for preventing mosquito bites. If you're studying on a Temple program for which International SOS has vaccine recommendations beyond just staying up to date with routine vaccinations for most travelers, Education Abroad is going to provide you with further guidance on how and where to obtain vaccinations. If you're attending an external program, you can check with your program provider. The other tabs include additional medical information about the standard of care, food and water safety, and other health issues to consider for your destination, ranging from diseases present to how air pollution or high altitudes may affect you. If you'd like to review additional online information about vaccines or preventing disease in your destination, the Centers for Disease Control's website is another resource with a wealth of information. Let's say you'd like to read more information about the Japanese encephalitis disease and vaccine that you saw referenced on the International SOS website. Go to cdc.gov, click on the Traveler's Health tab, then on Destinations, and then on India. Scrolling down, you will see that they also have a list of recommended or required immunizations and links to more specific information. Let's click on the Japanese encephalitis link to view detailed information. It's a good idea to review all of this information yourself as early as possible and make a plan early on for obtaining any vaccinations that are required or recommended, because some vaccinations follow schedules that are spread out over several weeks, and some vaccinations take time to take effect. Keep in mind also that travel vaccinations are not typically covered by insurance, so paying for those out of pocket is something that you're going to need to budget for.
Time for a quiz. I haven't seen my doctor or my counselor in about a year. I have no time, especially with the stress of schoolwork and life in general. I do take 2 medications, but I think I'll just plan to get refills abroad. Well, either that or my mom can mail them over to me in France. Worst comes to worst, I'm sure I'll be fine not taking my medication for a few weeks. In fact, maybe I should just stop taking them now so I can ease into it. What would you recommend? 1. Stop taking your prescription now. 2. Make an appointment with your health or mental health care provider to discuss your condition and prescription. 3. Contact International SOS to make a plan for having prescriptions mailed to you while you're abroad. 4. Learn how to communicate your condition in your host country's language. 5. Obtain your prescription for the full time you'll be abroad before departure. If you chose 2, 4, and 5, you're correct. Let's talk about the answers in more detail. Despite your busy schedule, it's important to take some time out to schedule an appointment with any doctor, dentist, or counselor who's involved in your care. It's especially important to discuss a plan to stay healthy with your healthcare provider if you have a medical condition or take prescription medication. It's also important to discuss any past conditions you've had and a plan to manage these conditions while abroad if they return. It's exciting to be in a new environment, but it can also be challenging and stressful and cause past issues to resurface. International SOS can supplement your healthcare provider's advice and help with your plan for staying healthy in your destination. They have a worldwide network of 27 assistance centers that are 24/7, 365 operations centers, staffed by doctors and nurses, multilingual coordinators, and logistics support personnel, and can therefore be an important resource and support both before and during your study abroad program. Call or email International SOS to consult with their professional medical team on an individual basis at any time. If you anticipate needing to see a health or mental health care provider during your stay, International SOS can actually help you identify appropriate providers in your destination and may be able to set up appointments ahead of time. You should discuss your current medications and a plan for obtaining enough medication for your full stay abroad with both your healthcare provider and with International SOS. You should not plan to stop taking any of your current medications when you go abroad. So the key is planning. In no circumstances should you plan to have medications shipped to you. It's almost always stopped in customs, so this is not a method to rely on. Since you won't be able to run to the local pharmacy to refill your US prescription while you're abroad, you should do 3 things. First, check with International SOS to make sure your medication, including prescription and over-the-counter medication, is permitted in your host country. In many countries, for example, common medications such as allergy medications and ADHD medication is restricted or illegal. If you use a medication that is prohibited in your host country, please add this to your list of things to discuss immediately with your healthcare provider and with International SOS. If an alternative medication needs to be explored, it's best to know early on so that there's time to adjust to and evaluate the new medication before going abroad. Second, be sure to obtain enough medication for your full stay abroad. This often requires advanced planning, as many medications are only typically dispensed in limited quantities. Discuss this with your healthcare provider to see what might be required for obtaining the necessary quantity. Then, consult with your insurance company and explain your reason for requesting more than your usual supply. If you need documentation about your study abroad program participation for this purpose, or if you have any difficulties with the process, please contact our office. Third, pay attention to any rules or procedures for bringing medications into your host country. At minimum, you will want to bring your medication in its original container along with the original prescription from your doctor. Some countries have other requirements. Japan, for example, requires you to file for an import certificate in advance if bringing more than a 1-month supply of a permitted medication. If you have any questions, contact International SOS. You heard earlier about immunizations and how to do some research about which immunizations are recommended or required. This is something you should also discuss with your healthcare provider and with International SOS. You should also discuss any allergies you have and how best to manage these allergies in a new environment. Remember that foods will likely be prepared and labeled differently from the way they are here in the US, and you will want to know how to communicate your allergies in your host country's language. Given these considerations, your healthcare provider and International SOS may have some recommendations. For example, perhaps there is a good resource online for an allergy in your host country, or your doctor might prescribe an EpiPen for a serious allergy, even if you've never needed to use one here. If you have a medical condition or an allergy, SOS can also help you translate a written explanation into the language of your host country, which you will want to have on hand before you depart. For example, if you're allergic to eggs, you'll want to be able to communicate that to your host family or to a server at a restaurant while you're abroad. Finally, ask your healthcare provider if they will be able to communicate with you while you're abroad. Depending on the situation, communication with a provider who knows you well might be helpful. Take a few minutes now to write down some notes and questions for your doctor, dentist, and counselor, and schedule your appointments if you haven't done so already. You'll also contact International SOS if something comes up while you're abroad and you need help determining what actions must be taken to facilitate a safe and speedy recovery. If you need health or mental health care, International SOS can direct you to an appropriate local healthcare provider for treatment and assist you in arranging the appointment. In many cases, SOS can provide direct payment so that you don't have to pay up front for your care. International SOS also offers emotional support services and assistance in locating reputable pharmacies. Of course, if you're experiencing an emergency, you may need to call an ambulance or the local authorities before contacting International SOS, but they are also equipped to assist in emergency situations and can even make the call on your behalf. Finally, International SOS can assist you in the evaluation of the care that you're receiving.
We mentioned that whenever possible, International SOS will provide direct payment for any medically necessary care and coordinate with the provided international travel medical insurance so that you don't have to pay for any covered expenses. Now, let's talk about the international travel medical insurance that all study abroad students will be covered by while participating on their program and go over some basics about the coverage you will receive abroad. The International Travel Medical Insurance covers 100% of medically necessary doctor's visits, emergency care, and mental health care. This includes pre-existing conditions. However, it doesn't cover preventative care, like a regular checkup, and it doesn't offer coverage for expenses related to professional sports or many high-risk sports. So for example, if you went bungee jumping and hurt yourself, your medical costs for that injury may not be covered. So please plan your activities carefully and with your personal health and safety in mind. The summary of benefits, including exclusions, is posted to your online study abroad account. The International Travel Medical Insurance also covers prescriptions. So while we've emphasized the importance of bringing your medication with you to your host country, if you take a prescription on a regular basis, if you do need to have a new prescription filled while you're abroad, say if you get strep throat and you need a prescription for that, the International Travel Medical Insurance will cover that. In most cases, though, you will pay out of pocket for new prescriptions that you fill while you're abroad. In that case, you will keep the receipts and get reimbursed after you submit a claim form. The claim form is posted to your online study abroad account. The International Travel Medical Insurance coverage will begin 3 days prior to the official start date of your study abroad program and conclude 3 days after the official end date of your study abroad program. If you plan to be abroad outside of the covered dates, we strongly recommend that you purchase International Travel Medical Insurance coverage for your personal travel dates. Look for a plan that includes benefits for emergency evacuation and repatriation of remains, neither of which are typically covered by U.S. health insurance policies. Please note that you will not receive a personal travel medical insurance ID card and you will not receive a personal policy number. Please also be sure not to drop your insurance coverage in the U.S. or in your home country so that you can remain covered by health insurance once you return from abroad, especially in the rare case that you need to return home for a health-related reason and need medical care, because International SOS and the International Travel Medical Insurance are only going to cover you abroad. Remember, you've also been asked to submit your health information form in your online account. If you have not disclosed all of your health conditions, or if there are any updates to the information you provided, or if you would like to discuss anything further, please feel free to contact our office. Lastly, remember to contact your on-site staff and International SOS if you are not feeling well.
Now we're going to shift our focus to safety and security. A list of common sense safety and security precautions relevant to all locations can be found in your program manual, but every destination is different and has its own considerations, so it's important to do your research. Let's take a closer look at some of the key resources that will help you become and stay informed. As we noted earlier in the presentation, International SOS assists with more than just medical matters. At any time, you can contact the International SOS Assistance Center and connect with a security professional to learn about travel safety tips and discuss any travel safety or security questions or concerns that you may have. You can even request a customized security report for any country to which you plan to travel. Let's log in again with Temple University's International SOS membership number, 11BSG C 000017. Let's look at the information International SOS provides relative to safety and security. Again, let's go to the India page. By clicking on the Security tab, you will see a summary and standing travel advice for India. Click on the Personal Risk tab and Country Stability tab to see more detailed information. For some countries, including India, you can click the City tab to drill down to learn more about larger cities. Here you can access information about Delhi, including risks of crime, terrorism, transportation safety, as well as the contact information for the embassies located there. In general, because India is such a large country, you will see that some of the information is pertinent to particular regions. Returning to the country's overview page, you will see any recent alerts issued by International SOS. You'll see that these current alerts address various topics, including transportation disruption, flu activity, and heightened security measures around a national holiday. Recent past alerts included information about demonstrations, heavy rainfall causing flooding, strikes, and road safety. International SOS alerts can be particularly informative and cover a broad range of issues, ranging from transportation matters to more serious safety and security events. We strongly encourage you to sign up for International SOS alerts for your host country and any countries for which you plan to travel. To sign up, you'll go back to the main Temple membership login page and click on Sign Up for Email Alerts that you see here. Take a few minutes to sign up now, and remember to bookmark the site.
Take a few minutes to download the Assistance app now. In addition to the app, you can always call SOS for advice on what to do or assistance in an emergency situation or critical event. Emergency assistance calls can even be made on your behalf. Of course, if you are experiencing an emergency, you may need to call an ambulance or the local authorities before contacting International SOS, but they are also equipped to assist in emergency situations and can even make the call on your behalf. You were in Paris on a weekend trip and you heard that a bomb went off 20 minutes ago. Thankfully, you were nowhere near the site and the city at least seems to be operating normally. What should you do? Think about all that apply. Do nothing. You only have one more day to explore Paris and things seem fine. Check in and confirm your safety with your on-site staff and your family. Check in and confirm your safety via the International SOS Assistance app. Check your email. Heed advice from local authorities. Now let's review the answers. If you chose 2, 3, 4, and 5, you're correct. Let's take a look at number 1 though. Do nothing. You only have one more day to explore Paris and things seem fine. It is important for your safety to treat any situation like this seriously. As a visitor in a new city, it can be especially difficult to have a true sense of what's going on, so simply going about your business is not the way to go. A situation like this can be fluid and things can change quickly. Your immediate safety is priority, so it's important to seek out more information and to heed advice from local authorities. Depending on the situation and your location, it may be advised to move to another area or to shelter in place until more information is known. When it's safe to do so, check your email, social media, and any reputable internet sites for alerts or updates. We will discuss how to sign up for some of the available alerts in just a moment. Also, when it's safe to do so, check in with both your family and your on-site program staff. Both will likely learn of the event quickly and will need to know that you're okay. As a reminder, please join your official Temple Study Abroad program Facebook group, as this is often an easy way to confirm your safety quickly. Finally, a key way to check in is through the International SOS Assistance app, which we explained before. This will alert us to your safety quickly. Fortunately, in this scenario, your safety was not in jeopardy, but remember that if you are affected by an emergency situation, you can always place a call for assistance through the International SOS app as well. Now let's look at the U.S. Department of State International Travel website, which also has a number of resources relevant to travel and living abroad in the Learn Before You Travel section of this page. You'll notice that this includes links to a traveler's checklist, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, or STEP, as well as traveling information for travelers with special considerations. They also provide safety and security information for every country of the world to help you assess for yourself the risks of travel. Let's look at the information about France. Each country information page contains a travel advisory, alerts, and other important details specific to that country that could affect you. The Department of State issues a travel advisory for each country of the world. Travel advisories follow a consistent format and use plain language to help U.S. citizens find and use important security information. Travel advisories apply up to 4 standard levels of advice, describe the risks, and provide clear actions U.S. citizens should take to help ensure their safety. The travel advisory appears at the top left of each country page with a color corresponding to each level. Travel advisories at levels 2 through 4 contain clear reasons for the level assigned, using established risk indicators and specific advice to U.S. citizens who choose to travel there. These are indicated with the letter at the top of the travel advisory and include crime, terrorism, civil unrest, health, natural disaster, time-limited event, or other, which would be used to describe potential risks not covered in the previous risk indicators. You can see from this page that the U.S. Department of State has issued an overall travel advisory level 2 for France. A level 2 travel advisory is in place to alert travelers to be aware of heightened risks to safety and security. Additional advice for travelers in these areas is provided in the travel advisory, so let's check it out. Notice that the travel advisory states at the time of this recording that travelers should exercise increased caution in France due to terrorism, and then provides details related to the possibility of terror attacks. The next section on this page highlights relevant alerts, and from this page you can access the alerts and messages issued by the U.S. Embassy and Consulate in your host country. Let's visit the U.S. Embassy in Paris website to see what alerts and messages are posted. If we hover over the U.S. Citizens Services tab, you'll also see that the embassy can be of assistance in many ways, from issuing new passports if lost or stolen to helping victims of crime. If you close out of the embassy website and return to the France country information page, you will also see more details about the U.S. Embassy closest to your program, highlighted on the menu on the right-hand side of the page. As you browse the Department of State's website, you'll see many links to their Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, or STEP. In the event of an emergency, this will allow the State Department and U.S. Embassy abroad to communicate with you. If you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you are expected to register your stay abroad through STEP. We also strongly encourage you to register any personal travel to other countries in STEP as well. If you are not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you may still sign up to receive travel alerts and warnings, but you should also register in your country's embassy located in your host country if possible. Take a few minutes now to enroll in STEP or bookmark the site and return to it later. Note that you will need your passport information for your emergency contact, and either your phone number or address abroad to complete the registration. You may be wondering if it's necessary to sign up for alerts on multiple sites. Since the different organizations do not always cover the same information or have different timelines for issuing alerts, we do recommend this. You'll see that the various tabs on the country page focus on different topics such as safety, security, local laws, and travel and transportation. If we go into the safety and security section, we'll see information about the current security climate for both the country and region and precautions you are advised to take. This page may have specific resources that your host country has available. Take a few minutes to visit and bookmark your host country's page. In addition to the resources we just reviewed, we also encourage you to seek out any safety and security information that is relevant to your specific destination. For example, if you are going to a country that experiences earthquakes, such as Japan or Italy, you can review the Center for Disease Control's Emergency and Preparedness Response website. Click on Natural Disasters and Severe Weather, and then click on Earthquakes for more information. If you are participating in a Temple program, safety and security matters relevant to your location will be further addressed during your on-site orientation, but we do encourage all students to take responsibility for being prepared and informed. When you arrive on site, pay attention to safety and security information, emergency protocols, and make sure you know how to contact someone for help in case of an emergency. Also, make sure to stay up to date on news and current events, and make sure to ask the on-site staff if you are unclear about anything. Note that we will ask all study abroad students to provide information about their travel itineraries and address abroad well before departure. Your program advisor provides instructions for doing so.
If you encounter problems while abroad, it is important to consult with the on-site staff quickly whenever possible. On-site staff members are usually in the best position to help you resolve any issues. Occasionally, students will first contact their families without speaking to someone on site.
Families will then contact Education Abroad in Philadelphia, who will then contact the staff overseas. This extra step delays the resolution of the problem, so we encourage you to keep your family informed, but also to contact on-site staff if issues arise. As we've stressed throughout this presentation, International SOS is there as well to assist, so we encourage you to use their services whenever needed. We hope that this presentation has served as an informative guide on how you can best prepare for a healthy and safe study abroad experience. Remember that detailed information about what we covered in this presentation, as well as a packing list which includes items relative to your health and safety, are also available in your program manual, posted to your program homepage. As a final step, please complete the Health and Safety Module quiz, which you can access on your program homepage. If you have any follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to contact our office. We wish you a healthy, safe, and enriching experience abroad.